Hey y'all, welcome or welcome back. If you are new here, hi, my name is Trisha. I usually do grocery hauls on this channel, and I will have one of those coming probably either later today or tomorrow. Today is Tuesday. We just got back from vacation yesterday, and I'm either going to go on my lunch break today or possibly after work. I've got a bit of a headache from all of the travel and just being tired and being out in the sun for the last week. I've had a hard time getting rid of it. I was supposed to be in office today and I'm actually working from home. I'm gonna try to go on my lunch break, but I may just try to get caught up on the laundry that we brought home from our trip. We did start it yesterday when we got home, but I'd like to get that all finished up. Dishes done from the meals we ate yesterday after we got back. Just kind of the little things around the house. I might do those on my lunch break. And then I'll just go after work and get groceries and get a haul for you guys. But I wanted to do a little extra video this week. I got a lot of pictures, not a ton of video. So I'm going to try to put some of it together and just kind of pop in and out here and kind of let you guys know what you're about to see, what we're going through on this trip that we just got back from. It was so much fun, such beautiful weather, and a successful trip. So I guess I can start out by just explaining the reason for the trip. So we went, my husband Mark and I went to Viera, Florida. We left last week on Wednesday morning. We got there by midday on Wednesday. And we were going down for a very large softball tournament. And that tournament started on Thursday. So Mark was selected to play at what the tournament's called the Challenge Cup. And it's actually states that bring a team and you get to play for your state. So he was selected for Ohio's Challenge Cup team. This was for their 35 and over division. So they have like you have E, D, C, B, A, which is conference or majors. And then they had a 35 and over, a 40 and over, and a 50 and over. So he was selected to play on Ohio's 35 and over team. And that was the reason for our trip. We did make sure that we got a day in advance and a day in a little bit at the end of the tournament to get to have a bit of a vacation out of it. It was pretty cool. His mom came down to watch and both of his sisters came. So that was really fun for them to get to be there and experience it. They've seen him play a little bit locally, but they've never really been to any of the bigger tournaments even that we do have locally. So for them to come to Florida and see one of the biggest tournaments that you can play in outside of playing in a world, which typically they do every year, this is one of the biggest things that you can play in. So it's held at Space Coast Complex in Viera, Florida. Space Coast Stadium is where they housed the championship games. So that was a really cool experience, getting to watch them play in the stadium that the majors play in. So like Team USA softball plays at Space Coast. It's one of the nicest fields, the nicest stadiums you can play at in the softball world, and they got to play there. So it was incredible. It's so cool to watch. I'm so glad we got to be there. And I'm really proud of him. He played some great softball over the course of 3 days. Him as well as the rest of his team. They were on fire. They looked great. and they came home with the championship. So he has a nice new gold medal that he won down there, and we brought home the championship for the state of Ohio. So super exciting. But while we were there, we did other things other than softball. So we had a nice lunch over in Cocoa Beach one day, and went down and saw the ocean. It was freezing. And then we had softball for a few days, and then on Sunday we actually went to the Brevard Zoo. So the Brevard County Zoo was right next to our hotel that we were staying at. Mark and I are big animal people, if that wasn't obvious by the dog, and I think I've mentioned that I have horses, and we're animal people. And he loves a zoo. Anywhere we go, he loves to check out a zoo, just because they all kind of have different animals, different experiences, different setups. So it's really cool just to see all the different ones. And especially in a place like Florida, their animals are all out. Being in Ohio for a large chunk of the year, our animals aren't, or at least a certain group of our animals aren't out where you can see them for, fall through the early spring. It's too cold. So it was really cool that everything was out and about, and it was a really nice zoo. It was volunteer based, and the volunteers were incredible. We talked to a few of them. They kind of gave us little insight and info on some of the animals we were looking at. So it was a great experience. And then initially we were staying Sunday night in Viera. We were just gonna have to get up really, really early in the morning, 1 o'clock in the morning, and drive to Orlando to drop off our rental car and hop on our flight. We had a 6:40 a.m. flight, and Orlando Airport, if you have not been there, is absolutely insane. Incredibly busy. So you have to be there around 3 hours before your flight to make sure that you have time to get your bag checked in and to get through TSA. So we made the decision on Sunday to book a hotel that was by the airport and drive up on Sunday afternoon and stay in Orlando, so that we didn't have to get up quite as early in the morning, because it was about an hour, a little over an hour and 15-minute drive from Viera to Orlando. So we saved ourselves at least, I think we got to sleep in another almost 2 hours from what we were expecting to have to get up if we had stayed in Viera, and we would have had to drive that hour and a half almost at 1 o'clock in the morning. It would have not been fun. So we made a decision, booked a hotel up right by the airport, which our car was being dropped off right by the airport, and it just made it a lot easier. So on our drive from Viera to Orlando, we actually got to catch a little bit of the rocket launch that was going on. So Kennedy Space Center had a launch scheduled initially for Saturday night, and a group of us were all talking about going and getting closer and watching the rocket launch, but it was very, very windy on Saturday. And they kept putting out notices that the launch had been postponed, and they kept pushing it back. And finally around, I believe it was 9 o'clock, they postponed it till the next day because of weather conditions. So we already had our plans for the zoo for Sunday. We were like, oh, well, I mean, we'll probably be able to see it somewhat, from a distance, but we won't go close to watch it. But on our drive, it got postponed so long that we were driving up around, I want to say 4:30, and we're driving down the highway, and we glance over, and there's just a rocket coming up over the trees. You can see the fire coming out of the bottom of it. We had we weren't right on it, but we had a pretty good view and actually got to see it. So we actually pulled over on the side of the highway and stopped so we could get a couple little clips of it and get to watch it until it disappeared. So that was a super cool, right place, right time, fun experience. So I have a couple clips of that. But basically, I think what I'm going to do is just pop into this and let you guys see a couple of the different adventures. I'll kind of lump them together by category and then pop in and kind of explain where we are, what we're doing, what you're seeing. It'll be pretty obvious in most cases, but overall, just a really cool trip. I'm so happy for the guys and so excited for them, and I'm just glad that I got to be there and I got to see all of it. So let's get into our trip. Our adventure starts bright and early at CVG, heading down to Orlando for our weekend. Thursday, we headed to the softball fields, and the guys played their 2 pool play games. We did go 1-1 in pool play, which gave us a top-ranked seed for our part of the bracket. So there were 2 sides, and we were number 1 on our side, with number 1 on the other side being Florida, which will be a plot twist you'll see coming in the future. Friday, we got to the fields bright and early for an 8 a.m. game. The guys played awesome, won that game, and then went to another game where we again won, and we had a nice break until later that evening. So we decided to get the group together, and so all his family, the guy that we were sharing our room with, Robbie, and Mark and I, we all went to Cocoa Beach and had lunch at this really cute place called Sandbar. And then we went down and checked out the ocean for a while, got to stick our feet in the nice ice cold water. And after this, we just went back to the hotel and relaxed for a while until their 8 p.m. game later that day. Won their 8 p.m. game, but then the following game, which I believe was the 9:30 game, they did unfortunately end up losing, but that's okay because that led us to the losers bracket finals, which was played in the stadium on Saturday morning. So this is us Saturday morning heading in to Space Coast. So this is the part of the story where things get super interesting. So I was going to show you some pictures, but the pictures and videos I have next are part of the celebration, and they don't give you the story of how we got to the celebration. So we get to Space Coast Stadium on Saturday morning. Their game is at 8 a.m. We're there at 7, bright and early, getting ready. Our first game is against Georgia, who we had previously beat in pool play, but had not seen them in the actual bracket play. So that game, smooth sailing. Guys played awesome. Took down Georgia, and it was on to the championship. So we won our losers bracket finals game, which put us in the championship game against Florida, the team that had beat us in both our pool play game and actually also that 9:30 game on Friday night. So we're going in, we have something to prove. We did not hit well against them, and we hit well in every other game, so we knew that we had a good shot at them. We just had to come in with our A game and stay pumped up from that win against Georgia. So we are getting ready to start the first game of the championship game. Since we were coming from the losers bracket side, in order to win the full championship, we would have to beat Florida twice. So we beat them the first time, we would go back and we would play what they call the if game. So if the losers bracket side beats the winners bracket side, they have to come back and beat them a second time to actually be the champions. We were ready. We were fully prepared for 2 games, but we had heard some rumors and some rumblings Friday night and Saturday morning. Before the softball tournament, all of the guys have to go online and they have to fill out a bunch of information and enter it into a system, and it puts them onto a digital online roster for the team. Florida had 13 guys on their digital roster. However, they had 16 guys in their dugout. So that means at least 3 of those guys were not on their roster and cannot play in the games because they are not on their roster. This is very standard in softball. You have to be registered, you have to be on your roster in order to be able to play. So we had heard that one of the guys that was sitting on the sidelines was on their digital roster. However, the guy that they had playing second base, who was in the game, was not on their roster. That is illegal gameplay. From the rumblings we had heard, not only was he not on their roster, but he's actually like a B level player. So all of the guys are ranked. And in the 35 and over division we were playing, you could only be ranked a C player or below. You were not allowed to be a B or a majors player, or a conference level player and play in this division. So not only was he not on their roster, but he was actually an ineligible player to even be on their roster. We heard rumors about it, and our coaches did some digging into it and confirmed that the name on his jersey, who he was playing as, was not a person on the roster. Don't know if that's actually who he is, but we talked to a few people and felt very confident that he was an illegal player and he should not have been playing. So he had played in every game illegally, which does disqualify them if any of the teams would have chosen to protest that player. So we were playing in the first game. We were actually up, like winning the game, when he came up to bat. And our coaches threw him a pitch, which makes him a player in the game. As per the rules, if he takes a pitch, he is an active player in the game. And that was when our coach came in. He was playing first. And our other coach from the side came in, and they pulled the umpire aside. They said, hey, we would like to protest. The batter is not on their roster. So you pay $100 for your protest. If you win your protest, you get your money back. If not, the sanction keeps that $100 that you paid to protest. So we made sure we felt very confident about that decision before we went in and protested. They pulled the other team's coach aside and that player and said, they're protesting him. He's not on your roster. We need to see his ID to verify. So the guy says his ID's in his car. He goes out to the parking lot to get his ID. And he's coming back, and the umpire and the director of the tournament let us know that we were going to continue gameplay while they researched it, and a decision would be made once they were able to confirm, but they don't want to delay the process of the game because if he is a valid player, they want everything to stay rolling so we don't get too far behind schedule. So the guy came back, and people are telling him, hey, we're going to keep playing while they look into this. So he just walks up to bat. So you would think if he went to his car, got his ID, it should physically be on him. But he didn't have it on him at that point. He just walked right back up into the batter's box. So we went ahead, pitched to him, got him out. And as he was walking to the side, the umpire said, hey, they need your ID in order to do this. So he goes into the dugout and gets his ID out of his bag and walks it over to them. So his ID was there the whole time. One thing you'll notice if you ever go to softball and you see something like this happen, if you say that you're going to protest someone or something, and that team knows that they are not in the wrong and feels confident that your protest is complete BS, they're going to talk smack. They're going to be like, way to waste $100. You guys are idiots. That guy's on our roster. He's a valid player, blah, blah, blah. They're going to get rowdy, and they're going to let you know that you made a stupid decision because they know that they're doing what they're supposed to do. When we protested this guy, every head on that team dropped, and they were quiet. Like, they knew they were caught. So They did try to make some arguments. When you show up to the tournament, there's a paper roster that all of the players then have to sign into, and that gets verified against your digital online roster. So he signed on the paper roster. However, that's just a sign-in of sorts. That's not the one that the rules go by. So if you are not on the digital roster, it does not matter that you signed in on the paper roster, because the tournament goes off of the digital roster where you completed all of your information. So they tried to argue, well, he signed the paper roster. And they're like, yeah, well, that doesn't matter. It goes off of the digital roster. So they had the digital roster loaded, pulled up, look at it. His name is not on there. They've confirmed with his ID. He is the person on the ID, and that person is not on their roster. We were under the impression that that would be a forfeit of that game, and we would just go immediately to the if game. So they would forfeit the first round, and then we would have to come back and win against them in the second game in order to be the champions. That was our mindset the whole way going through it. We're like, hey, we might piss them off with this move, but it is what it is. He shouldn't be playing. It's unfair to all of the teams that they've played against all weekend. We're a by the rules kind of team. We're going to point out when something's wrong and these people shouldn't be doing this. As I mentioned, we were winning at this time. So it wasn't like we were getting our butts kicked and we were like, well, but let's save ourselves by doing this. We were winning already. We were like, okay, we're winning. Let's just end this game early so we can jump into the if game and win this medal. Let's get fired up. Let's throw off their team chemistry because they're playing it unfairly. And let's come back and do the dang thing. So we're stepped off to the side. They let us know that game is called. It is a forfeit for illegal play. So we're kind of ready. We're like, okay, are we just going to go ahead and jump in and get rolling on the second game? And that was when the director and the umpire turned to us and they said, no, this guy's been playing illegally. That's a forfeit of the tournament for them. So they were disqualified from the entire tournament. They would be the last place team. Every team along the way who beat them or had to play them, or who lost to them or had to play them, if that Florida team beat any of those teams, that was overturned as well. And all of the teams that they beat throughout the weekend actually received a win because they were playing with an illegal player. They were playing unfair against the rules. And they would not get the opportunity to play the if game because they were being disqualified from the entire tournament. So, not necessarily the way we wanted to win, even though we were winning at the time of this all happening. And we truly believed with how our guys were playing that morning that they could have done it even with playing against their illegal player. We were just, it's proper gameplay. It's playing with, true integrity to the game and playing the fair way. And we made that decision, and it actually gave us the championship right then and there. So it was a wild ride. It went a little different than we expected even. We thought we were going to still get to play another game. The guys were pumped up and ready to go. And then all they had was pure adrenaline and energy pumping when they were told that they just won the whole tournament. We were kind of bummed because it would have been cool, had this all been figured out earlier, maybe we would have got the opportunity to play Georgia twice. Or play one of these other teams that were really good teams and that were doing it the right way. It could have gave all of us an opportunity to get another game in and to have a little more competition, a little more fair competition in it. But either way, Ohio took home the gold, and that's what we went there to do. So Saturday was a bit of a whirlwind, and let's pop into showing you guys some of the team pictures of all of the guys, the celebration. It was pretty cool. So let's see those. So this is it. Saturday. Ohio is champion. Here's all the guys with their gold medals. and just getting our team pictures in, our family pictures. And then this is Mark accepting his all tournament. All right, it is now Sunday. We did our celebrating on Saturday night, had some drinks with all of the guys. We went and had dinner, and just had a nice, relaxing, fun Saturday afternoon and evening. We slept in a little bit on Sunday, and then around midday, probably 11:30 noon-ish, Mark and I headed over to the Brevard Zoo. So this place was absolutely beautiful. It was just covered in all of the natural trees and plants that you would see in the Florida area. And they kind of just built everything in and around all of the natural landscape. It was beautiful. They had like caged off areas, obviously, for the animals, but a lot of them had like connectors where they had 3 or 4 separate spaces that they had access to, where they could close and open and go back and forth. So that was really, really neat to see. At one point, they actually opened up one of the spaces between like 2 or 3 areas for some of the animals. And like we were able to see the monkeys climb over into the new space that they opened for them. Or I don't remember what the other animal was, but we got to kind of see them move back and forth and go in so excitingly to their new habitat and, see what the caretakers had done in there, whether that be leave food out for them or something new and exciting that they had updated in that area while they had been separated off from it. So a very, very cool experience, an absolutely beautiful zoo. And we got to see all of these animals that right now in Ohio, these guys aren't out and about hanging out. It's definitely much warmer here than when we left. It's, I believe, about 64 degrees currently, and today is Tuesday, the 27th of February. But on this day, on Sunday, down in Viera, Florida, it was, I believe, almost 80 degrees. So, so many animals that we couldn't see this time of year up here. We were able to go and see while we were down there. So it was a great experience. We're really glad that we chose to spend our one full vacation day. Sunday was pretty much the only day that we were down there for the entire day and had the opportunity to go and spend it just in vacation mode. So we chose to do the zoo for our vacation day, and it was a great decision in my opinion. So here's just a little bit of all the cool animals we saw and the experiences we had on that day. So I hope you guys enjoy. Sunday night, we decided to head up to Orlando to be closer to the airport, and this was the rocket launch. It's a little hard to see on video, but in person, it was absolutely incredible. Yeah, that was our trip to Viera. After the rocket launch, we just went up, checked into our hotel that we had got up in Orlando by the airport. We got up around 2 o'clock in the morning, finished packing everything up, got ready, and headed over and dropped our rental car off and got shuttled to the airport, got our bag checked in, went through the 45-minute line to get through TSA, went in and had some breakfast and just relaxed for a while until it was time to board our flight and get home. So we are thrilled to be home, excited to bring the gold medal home with us. And so glad to be back with Zazu. We missed him like crazy. So now kind of back to normal life. It's a hard adjustment, but like I said, I'm going to go get some groceries later today. I'll probably have that video up for you either later this afternoon / evening or possibly tomorrow. And then we should be back to regularly scheduled programming. But this trip was just so cool, and I just really wanted to get to share some of it with you. I know it's pretty much all pictures, just voiced over and turned into video, but it was really cool. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I know this is out of the norm, but hopefully you get to see something cool, some beautiful sights that we got to see. And I hope you liked it. So if you did, please give this video a thumbs up. If you are new here, I would love it if you would subscribe and stick around. Like I said, this is not my normal content. If you do subscribe, you're mainly going to see grocery hauls, but this is the kind of thing I want to try to incorporate more of. I typically am pretty good at the racetracks about taking some little videos and pictures and things like that. So I'm really hoping that I can start to put some of those together into like a little racetrack weekend vlog, if you will, or something like that. So I'd like to put a little bit more of these types of videos into the mix, but typically just check in every week for a grocery haul. Subscribe and stick around. Give a thumbs up if you did enjoy the video. And as always, I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.